When you look at a tattoo, you see a piece of art sitting on the skin. But have you ever stopped to ask if that ink is actually sitting still, or if it has migrated somewhere much deeper inside your body's defense system?
Welcome to Dr. Mercola's Cellular Wisdom. Stay informed with quick, easy-to-listen summaries of our latest articles, perfect for when you're on the go. No reading required. Subscribe for free at Mercola.com for the latest health insights.
Hello and welcome to Dr. Mercola's Cellular Wisdom. Today we are stripping back the aesthetic layer of something that has become incredibly common in modern culture. We aren't looking at the history of tattoos or the artistic merit, not even the cultural significance. We are going strictly biological today.
It's good to be here. And strictly biological is exactly where we need to be, because the gap between what people think happens to tattoo ink and what the biology tells us, actually happens, it's massive. It's a complete paradigm shift.
It really is. And I want to set the stage here for everyone listening. The goal of this deep dive isn't to judge tattoos or people who have them. It's to understand the cellular mechanics of what's happening. I think most of us, even people who are pretty health conscious, have this mental model of a tattoo being sort of a static event.
Right.
You go in, the needle deposits the ink, the skin heals over, and boom, you have a permanent image. It's kind of like painting a wall. The paint dries, and it just sits there on the drywall until you decide to paint over it.
That is the perfect analogy for the common assumption. We view the skin as a canvas.
A passive sheet of material.
Exactly. That just accepts the pigment and holds it in place. But the reality we are analyzing today completely upends that. It reveals that viewing a tattoo as paint on a wall is, well, it's scientifically incorrect.
Because unlike a wall, our skin is alive.
Exactly. A wall doesn't have an immune system. A wall doesn't have a lymphatic drainage system.
It doesn't have a metabolism.
Right. When you introduce ink into the human body, you aren't drawing on a passive surface. You are introducing a foreign substance into a dynamic, living defense system. And the core revelation here is that the ink does not simply remain in the skin where it was placed.
Right. The information we have is very specific about this. The ink, it migrates.
It migrates. That implies travel. That implies a journey.
And a destination.
And a destination.
So let's start at the beginning of that journey. To understand why it moves, we probably need to clarify why it stays at all.
Oh.
Because biologically, I know the skin is constantly shedding. We lose, thousands of skin cells an hour?
That's right.
If I draw on my arm with a marker, it's gone in 2 days because that outer layer just sheds off. So why doesn't the tattoo shed off with it?
That's the crucial distinction. A marker sits on the epidermis. That's the outer layer that turns over constantly.
Okay.
A tattoo needle is designed to punch through that layer and deposit the pigment into the dermis.
Layer underneath?
The stable structural layer underneath. It doesn't shed like the surface. But here's the catch. The dermis is highly vascular. It's full of nerves, and crucially, it is heavily patrolled by the immune system.
So by bypassing the shedding layer, you are effectively dropping foreign material directly into the patrol zone of the body's security guards.
Precisely. And this is where the migration begins. The body doesn't just shrug and let that ink sit there. As soon as that needle hits, the body recognizes a trauma and a foreign invader. It sends in the troops immediately.
Okay.
Specifically, a type of white blood cell called a macrophage.
The macrophage, these are the eaters, right?
What's the literal translation, big eater? You can think of them like Pac-Man. Their job is to find foreign debris bacteria, dead cells, or in this case, ink particles, and engulf them.
They swallow them whole.
They swallow them whole to protect the body. They are the first line of defense in cleaning up the neighborhood.
Okay, so this is fascinating. When I look at a tattoo, I'm not actually seeing ink just floating nicely between my skin cells. What am I seeing?
You are largely seeing ink that's been trapped inside the bellies of millions of microscopic immune cells.
Inside the cells themselves.
Yes. The ink particles are often too large for the macrophage to break down chemically, so the cell just sits there holding the ink effectively stuck in place. That is what creates the visual permanence. The ink isn't stuck in the skin structure, it's stuck inside the immune system agents that try to eat it.
That is a wild image.
Yeah.
The tattoo is literally made of frustrated immune cells holding onto pigment they can't digest.
It is. It's like a standoff.
A biological standoff.
Exactly. But here is where the static myth really falls apart. Those macrophages don't live forever.
Right. They're living cells.
They're biological entities. They die. And when a macrophage dies, it ruptures and it releases that ink back into the tissue.
And then what? Does it just drift away?
Sometimes. But usually a new macrophage comes along, sees the loose ink, and eats it again.
Oh, wow.
It's a microscopic game of catch that lasts for decades. This cycle of capture, death, release, and recapture is constant.
So it's not static at all.
Not even close. But, and this is the key point, during that handoff or during the initial healing, some of that ink escapes. It doesn't get re-eaten locally. It enters the drainage system.
The lymphatic system.
Correct. The lymphatic system is the highway. It's the body's sewage and drainage network.
So now we have to answer the question. If it's leaving the layers of the skin where we can see it, where is it actually going?
And the research is very clear on this.
Yeah, it's quite explicit about the destination. It's not just floating around aimlessly in the blood. It accumulates in a very specific place. The data indicates the ink becomes a presence inside immune tissue.
Yes, specifically the lymph nodes.
Inside the lymph nodes.
That's right.
That stops me in my tracks a little bit, because when I think of lymph nodes, I'm thinking of those glands in my neck that swell up when I have a sore throat.
The filtration plants of the body.
Exactly, the filtration plant. I definitely do not think of them as a storage locker for art.
That is the fascinating disconnect, isn't it? We tend to compartmentalize our biology. We think skin is for covering and lymph nodes are for fighting illness, but they are physically connected by that drainage highway. And researchers have examined the lymph nodes of tattooed individuals, and the results are, well, they're visually striking.
I can guess based on what we've said, but tell us what they find.
The lymph nodes are often the same color as the tattoo.
Really?
Oh, yes. If the person had a large green tattoo, their lymph nodes were dyed green. If it was black work, the nodes were black.
That is visceral. You're saying the pigment literally dyes the immune organs.
Effectively, yes. The ink particles are transported there by those migrating cells or through passive drainage, and they get stuck in the fissure. So when you look at a tattoo on someone's arm, you are only seeing part of the picture. There is a shadow tattoo existing internally inside their immune system.
So it's no longer just a cosmetic alteration on the surface.
Not at all.
It has become a systemic immunological situation.
Exactly. The ink is residing within the very system designed to protect the body from pathogens, abnormal cells, and environmental toxins. It occupies space in the filtration system.
And lymph nodes aren't just empty bags.
Not at all. They are complex structures where immune cells are trained and deployed.
That feels like a massive shift in perspective. It goes from being decoration to being biological integration. But I want to push on this a bit because I know what the listener is asking. Does it matter? If my lymph nodes are blue, does that actually stop them from working?
That's the billion-dollar question.
Or is it just cosmetic on the inside too?
And that leads us to the next critical point in our deep dive. If the ink is inside immune tissue, what is the immune system doing with it? The information we have uses a very specific, very active phrase to describe this relationship. It says this situation requires ongoing immune management.
Ongoing immune management. Those three words imply a lot of work.
They absolutely imply work. Management isn't passive. Management requires energy. It requires resources. It implies that the body never truly finishes the task of dealing with the tattoo.
Usually we think of a tattoo as a one-and-done event. You get the tattoo, it itches for a week while it heals, and then you forget about it. It just becomes part of your self-image. But you're saying, biologically, the body never forgets about it.
The body cannot forget about it. It is holding foreign material, often metal salts and industrial organic pigments within sensitive immune tissue. That requires constant biological surveillance and containment. The body knows that material is not self.
It's non-self.
And the prime directive of the immune system is to manage non-self material.
Let's try to find an analogy for this, because cellular surveillance can sound abstract.
It can, yeah.
It feels like the difference between, say, buying a piece of furniture and having a house guest.
Go on. I like where this is going.
Okay, so if I buy a chair, I put it in the corner, it sits there, I don't have to feed it, I don't have to talk to it, I don't have to check on it. It's passive.
Right.
That's how we think of a tattoo. But ongoing immune management sounds like having a house guest that never leaves. You have to feed them, you have to make sure they're comfortable, you have to constantly be aware of their presence in your space.
That is a brilliant analogy. And to extend it, imagine that house guest is staying in your home office.
Okay.
The place where you are supposed to be doing your work. That is what is happening here. The ink is in the immune tissue. That tissue has a job to do, protecting you from biological threats. But now, it also has this permanent house guest it has to manage.
So it's splitting its attention.
In a sense, yes. It represents a biological burden.
A burden.
We often don't think of burden in cellular terms, but every process in the body has a metabolic cost. It costs ATP, cellular energy, to keep those macrophages alive. It costs energy to generate new ones when the old ones die. It costs energy to contain that foreign material so it doesn't leach out and damage surrounding tissue.
So this is an open account in the body's energy ledger.
It's an open account. Unlike a cut or a scrape, which heals and then is effectively closed, the body repairs the tissue and moves on. This is a task the immune system keeps on its to-do list indefinitely.
Indefinitely. That brings us to the timeline, because usually the immune system is pretty good at winning, right?
It is.
If I get a splinter, my body pushes it out. If I encounter a common cold, my body creates antibodies and clears it. Why doesn't the body eventually give up on the ink or break it down?
Well, it tries. That's actually why tattoos fade over 20 or 30 years. That fading isn't just the sun.
It's the immune system.
It's your immune system slowly, agonizingly trying to chip away at the mountain. But the particles are engineered to be stable. They are difficult to break down chemically. So the reality is very specific about the duration here. It calls it a lifelong presence.
Lifelong.
From the moment that ink is introduced until the very end of biological life, that interaction is happening.
That is heavy. When you hear lifelong in a marriage vow, it's romantic. When you hear lifelong regarding your immune system battling a foreign substance,
It feels a little more daunting.
yeah. It underscores the permanence of the biological decision being made. We need to reframe permanent.
Right.
We think permanent means the picture won't wash off. But we should view permanent as my immune system will never stop interacting with this material.
That's it. And this brings up something we touch on a lot, inflammation. Because if the immune system is constantly active, constantly managing something, isn't that the definition of inflammation?
It is a state of low-grade chronic immune activation.
Exactly. Now, for many people, their bodies handle this load just fine. They have strong constitutions, their drainage pathways are open, and it's just a background noise. But we have to ask, what happens when the system gets stressed?
Right. If your bucket is already half full with managing tattoo ink, you have less room in the bucket for other stressors.
Precisely. We live in a world full of challenges. We deal with environmental pollutants, emotional stress, lack of sleep, dietary toxins.
All of those things demand immune attention.
They do. And if a percentage of your immune resources are permanently allocated to keeping tattoo pigment sequestered in your lymph nodes, that is a percentage that isn't available for immediate deployment elsewhere.
It's a resource allocation issue.
It is, and we're seeing more interest in the composition of the inks themselves. The sources mention these pigments often contain heavy metals or other industrial compounds.
Things not meant to be inside the human body.
Not at all, which explains why the body wants to wall them off so badly. It knows they aren't supposed to be there.
The macrophage isn't just holding the ink to be annoying.
No, it's holding it to protect the rest of your cells from potential toxicity. It's a heroic act, really. The immune system is sacrificing these cells to contain the invader.
It really makes you appreciate the work your body is doing right now without you even knowing it. You're sitting there sipping coffee, maybe admiring the art on your arm. And meanwhile, down at the microscopic level, there is a constant, frantic bucket brigade going on to keep that ink safe and stable.
It is the ultimate multitasker. And it does this without you ever feeling it. You don't feel your lymph nodes turning blue. You don't feel the macrophages dying and being replaced.
It's silent work.
It's silent work.
But just because it's silent doesn't mean it's free.
No, there is no free lunch in biology. Every action has a reaction. Every retention of foreign material has a metabolic price tag.
So if we look at the big picture here, we've gone from paint on a wall to migrating foreign material to
a lifelong house guest in the immune system.
That is a massive journey.
It is, and it really reinforces why we do these deep dives. When you look at the surface, you see culture, you see art, you see self-expression, all valid things. But when you look with a biological lens, you see a defense system under permanent siege.
And that distinction is crucial for everyone listening. We are all about optimization. We're about removing interference so the cells can do what they do best.
Exactly. And knowledge is the first step. Knowing that a tattoo represents a biological tax doesn't mean everyone stops getting them, but it means you make that decision understanding the cost.
You understand that you are asking your body to perform a lifelong service for you.
It changes the informed consent, doesn't it? It's not just this might get infected.
This will alter your lymphatic landscape forever.
That is the summary. The biological reality is active, not passive. The ink leaves the skin, enters the immune tissue, and demands ongoing management for life.
It's fascinating. It really makes you think about the hidden costs of things we consider purely aesthetic. It reminds me of how we treat our environments. You can sweep dirt under the rug, but the dirt is still there.
And eventually you run out of room under the rug.
And that leads me to a thought I'd like to leave the listener with today. We've talked about this ongoing management and the energy it requires.
The limited resources of the body.
Yes, if your immune system is spending a lifetime managing the ink in your tissues, keeping that house guest in check every single day, how does that impact its ability to handle the unexpected?
The unexpected challenges.
Right. As we age, our immune system naturally becomes less efficient. It's a natural process. If we enter that phase of life with a system that is already burdened with widespread pigment management, are we accelerating that decline? If it's busy there, what happens when it's needed to fight off a new pathogen or detect a rogue cell mutation?
That is a question that will definitely stick with me. It's not just about today, it's about the long gain of your health.
It's about the cumulative load.
Yeah.
And maybe, just maybe, giving our immune system a break from housekeeping duties allows it to focus on the things that really matter for our longevity.
Precisely. It's about prioritization.
Well, this has been a true deep dive. I'll never look at a tattoo the same way again. It's not just art, it's biology in action. Thank you for listening to Dr. Mercola's Cellular Wisdom. See you in the next episode. Looking for trusted health wisdom you can hold in your hands? Discover the life-changing books of Dr. Mercola at joyhousepublishing.com. These titles bring decades of natural health research into practical steps for better energy, stronger immunity, and clearer thinking. Take charge of your health with guidance rooted in science and experience. Visit joyhousepublishing.com now and claim your bonuses while they are available.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe now and click the notification bell so you never miss an update. See you in the next video.